Last one. So welcome to our last day of our nutrition workshops. Today we are going to talk about some of the common myths or maybe misconceptions that we see in nutrition. So I hope that you've already gotten a lot of really good feedback from this. Hopefully this will help to clarify a couple of things. These are some of the frequently asked questions that I get from people. So we're going to bust a couple myths. We're going to work through some of the confusion, and hopefully this will help you really implement all the stuff that we've talked about throughout the week. First, smoothies equal automatically healthy because fruit, right? Well, there's a solid asterisk in this. Now, the main reason that there's an asterisk is because, as we've talked about before, we want to make sure that we are trying to minimally process food as much as possible. We know that the whole food itself does make your system feel a little bit fuller. So if we're breaking down, blending up all of those fruits and all that good stuff, then a lot of times that ends up hitting your system a little bit more aggressively. Kind of spikes the blood sugar like we talked about before. And so that's one of those things that we want to be careful about, especially because a lot of the times you'll go to a smoothie store and they'll end up be putting things that are already broken down a little bit more, like juice, or things that have higher sugar in them, like sherbets. That's super common in our smoothie store. So it's one of those things where it may or may not be beneficial depending on what your goals are. Keep in mind that, yes, you might have a little bit extra fiber from it, so this is probably a little bit better than juicing from that perspective, but a lot of times it ends up just kind of being fruit and ice cream, right? Especially a lot of those mainstream places, like if you go to Dairy Queen or something like that, pretty sure they just use a smoothie mix which has a ton of sugar in it and like maybe some milk or something like that. So it's really just a lot of calories in a very concentrated space, and then you can drink it really quickly without feeling full. Now, why this is a benefit. If you are trying to bulk up, smoothies, protein drinks, all that stuff is a really great way to be able to get more calories so that you can build more muscle. So it is a good way to be able to sneak in a few extra calories without feeling super full. However, if you are replacing meals and thinking that this is a better option, it probably isn't. Or if you're adding it to your meals, like you're having a smoothie and a full lunch, that is also just going to give you so many more calories for that one sit-down meal without you feeling as full. So it's a little bit tricky. We want to make sure that we're careful about it. And there are different ingredients that you can make sure that you include. I'm a big fan of almond milk as a topping instead of juice, because the juice, again, is going to be a little bit higher in sugar, higher in carbs. Almond milk is basically water. You can use water if you want to. If you're allergic to nuts, there are other options like oat milk and stuff like that. But those are going to be a little bit better than using like juice or sherbet or something like that. So there's some options that you can do there. You can also add a little bit of fat like avocados or nuts. You can add some veggies in there, and that'll help make it a little bit better. So it's not necessarily the worst thing, but just because it's a smoothie does not mean it's healthy. Next, dried fruit as a snack. Okay, if that's all you got and that's all you can digest, I know I have a client right now who's in that table, that's totally fine. If this is the only way that you can get it in, at least you're still getting fiber. There are two main things that dried fruit are missing. One, the hydration piece. We're not getting that benefit of that 95% of the fruit being water, right? So we lose out on that, which is going to make it a little bit harder to understand when you're actually full. It makes it really easy to overeat. And two, a lot of dried fruit actually ends up having added sugar to it. I don't know why they don't think it's sweet enough, but the manufacturers almost always add extra sugar on top of that. So make sure that you're looking at the back of the package to see if you can minimize that as much as possible. One of the ways that you can do this a little bit more effectively too is a lot of the like Mexican candies and stuff like that will have like chili on them instead, or spices on them instead. They might have salt in them too, so asterisk, look at that. But they have chili on them instead, or chamoy or something like that. And those can start to like add that thermic effect of food that we've talked about by adding a little extra spice. That's really fine if that's the way that you want to consume it. More times than not, try to eat your fruit whole if you can. And then make sure that you are getting that fiber and the water from benefits from the fruit itself. Juice. So we've talked about this a couple times, the orange juice. I keep using orange juice because I think it's one of the most common ones, but apple juice, guava juice, all that stuff. We used to grow up with the little cans that you like opened up and added to a bunch of water. Pretty sure that was just straight sugar. So most juices, unfortunately, are going to be very carb heavy, very sugar intense. And that's essentially all that you're getting, and it's delivering it straight to your system because it's in liquid format. Most of the time, you're missing a lot of that fiber benefit from what you would actually get if you were eating the fruit itself. So we actually used to juice pretty regularly, and we would juice fruits and veggies and all that stuff. And if it is the only way, like if you have digestive issues and the only way that you're going to get nutrients into your system, okay. But if you can actually eat the fruits and the vegetables, it's going to be so much better for you than actually juicing them. So again, it's fruit without the fiber, boo. It doesn't replace the whole foods or the water that you're going to get. And it can really lead to that sugar spike, especially if you're doing something that's really fruit heavy, which is a little bit higher in the sugar and a little bit lower in some of the extra benefits that you can get from like dark leafy greens. There we go. If it fits your macros. I don't know if you guys have heard of this before or not. So this is a theme that is still pretty prevalent, but has been really popular the last 10, 20 years or so. So it's called If It Fits Your Macros. Basically, you find out how many macros you're supposed to be eating, and then you stay within those macros, but it doesn't matter what you eat. I disagree. No, there's a lot of reasons that I disagree, but the main reasons that I disagree is that it does not always address what you need in terms of your nutritional value, right? So we talked about looking at the foods that you're eating and making sure that you have a lot of nutrients that you're getting from it, the vitamins and minerals, etc. And if you are eating something, even though it might fit your macros, it might not actually have that many nutrients in it. So we could be missing out on a lot of those benefits. You also can hit all of your numbers and feel like crap because it doesn't digest in your system all because it's not the right foods for you to be eating. So that's really something to keep in mind too. And food quality makes a huge difference when it comes to the long run. A lot of really processed foods can negatively impact you and impact your inflammation in general, but also be able to mess up your hormones, contribute to that leaky gut, be feeding all of those negative bacteria. So just because it fits inside your macros, I just don't agree that that means that it's the best option. And P.S., I feel like it's a sneaky way to make people track their food for the rest of their life, which again, I think sounds terrible. So if you agree with me at all, I would rather learn what I'm supposed to eat, how much I'm supposed to eat, and be able to kind of feel it out than feel like I have to weigh everything that I'm eating just because it fits my macros. So that's a personal opinion. Take it or leave it. Something that I wanted to make sure that I addressed. And this is just, again, why hitting your numbers isn't enough. Your body is not a calculator. Okay, yes, we said that we were going to revisit the 3,500 calories per pound. So theoretically speaking, if we were to have 500 calories less a day, every day, for a week, you would lose a pound. 1 to 2 pounds per week is a nice, safe number. That would be a great way to do it. However, let's say that you're at 1,500 calories already because you're not eating enough to be able to fuel your body. You're going to get down to 1,000 calories? There's no way that's not below your basal metabolic rate, right? And so then you're not functioning well, you feel like crap, your focus is low, your energy is terrible, and it's all because we're just trying to play the numbers game, right? So I just don't think that that's the long-term solution. So that's something to think about. Your body is not a calculator. As we pull more and more calories away, at some point, it's going to be diminishing returns. It's not going to continue to just let you continue to drop fat if you're not supporting your normal daily functions, right? Quality, especially long term. So these is kind of point 2 and 3 together. Quality, especially long term, is going to make a huge, huge difference. Making sure that we're trying to eat things that are whole foods, that have a lot of nutrients, and they're not super duper processed is going to be super, super good on not only your gut, not only your energy, but your long-term health. It's going to help you take care of your cholesterol, to help you take care of your heart, your brain. A lot of the long-term diseases actually end up kind of being a result of years and years and years of not eating what you could have eaten in order to be able to support your body. So that's really, really important as well. I think the quality is so much more important than the quantity. Like we kind of talked about earlier, eating lots of fruits and vegetables, you could probably eat a lot of fruits and vegetables and almost never get fat. Almost. I'm not saying you can go vegan and never get fat, because they have a lot of processed foods nowadays that can be just as bad as the other stuff. But if we can eat those whole foods, get in tune with our body, make sure we understand what it's looking for, then this is going to be a really great way to make sure that we're not only taking care of our short-term goals, but that we are long-term going to be taking care of our bodies too. And I don't know about you, I would rather keep fat off than gain a bunch of weight and have to work it off later on. You know what I mean? Myth: diets are the solution. I think this is one is starting to die, which I'm so happy about. It is not it, right? The restrictiveness that diets play, and again, we talked about the word diet, but diets themselves often are trying to get you to like take out a whole food group, right? Like what's Atkins? You just don't eat carbs. Oh, okay, so if I take one out of my 3 macronutrients out of my diet, yeah, of course I'm gonna lose weight because I'm not eating a whole category, right? Technically, theoretically, if I wasn't replacing it with the other 2, I'd be eating a third of the calories too. So yeah, duh, of course. Oh, juicing cleanse, I'm not eating full food ever? Yeah, I'm gonna lose weight, right? So all of them are just like disguised around some theme or another in order to be able to convince you to eat less food. This is where the if it fits your macros comes back in. Eat less food equals eating less calories. What happens when you eat less calories? You do technically lose weight, until we get to the point where we're so low that we're not supporting our body, starts to hold on to fat. So you guys are starting to see this pattern a little bit more, right? And the more restrictive the diet is, I've heard of some crazy ones, like eat 1 apple in a week. I don't know. I don't think I'm exaggerating. These are real things that people do, and they're poor little systems, they're poor metabolisms. Like they're just ruining it. Luckily, again, we can come back from it, but if you've ever tried a diet before, what is the number one thing that it feels? Restrictive, right? And it's all about taking things out instead of about adding things in. So I'm completely against diets. I think that it's a terrible idea. What we want to make is lifestyle changes. We want to make small adjustments. We want to make consistent improvements to the food that we're eating and making sure that we are fueling our bodies. So diets fail because they're often rigid and they trigger rebellion. Oh, I can't eat that food? Then what do I want? That food, right? That's all I want. The strictness leads to inevitable burnout. And again, focusing on that restriction instead of that addition. So one of the reasons that Mediterranean style eating, you can call it a Mediterranean diet if you want to, but one of the reasons that one gets so much positive feedback, and I've heard a lot of doctors actually tell their clients to eat Mediterranean, is simply because they eat a bunch of plants and then a bunch of lean meat. Like that's it, right? Which is kind of what we all know that we're supposed to do anyways. So it's just that type of culture is what they eat. And so it's a style of eating rather than a diet itself, right? So something to keep in mind. We want to make sure that we're flexible, that we're maintaining a positive relationship with foods, because that stress from having a negative relationship with food will also help you hold on to fat. It's crazy, right? And then remember that any changes that we make to our diet need to be practical, consistent, and sustainable. So we use this PCS method a lot. We always want to make sure that any changes that we're going to make, we can make long-term. That is the first question that I ask one of my clients whenever they ask me about a diet. Hey, I heard about this new thing. Okay, tell me about it, because I'm going to be open-minded, right? I want to hear it. Maybe it's a decent idea. Maybe it's literally just trying to eat better food. So I hear them out, and then I'm like, okay, number one question, is this something that you can continue to do for the rest of your life? And if the answer is no, there's no point in even trying, right? Same with all of the changes that we're making now. Yes, they'll feel a little hard at first. Yes, they might be a little uncomfortable at first. But is it something that I could do long term? Yeah, probably. It's not that bad, right? And if it's too far away, even if it's a positive change, if it's too far away, then maybe it will be hard to sustain. And if I'm trying to make such a big leap, like say that you went from being a carnivore to trying to be vegan, like, yeah, that's going to be kind of hard, right? So if we leap too far, even if it's a positive direction, it's still not going to be sustainable. That's why I think it's really important that we're really consistent when we make these small changes instead. So this is that piece that I was talking about. I like to call it rebel mentality. You get to the point where you have such rigid rules. You're like, I can't eat after 7 o'clock. I can't have this food, right? And we have that like dichotomous all or nothing thinking. And so when you start to think like that, what do you want to do? Like break all the rules, right? So we want to make sure that we have flexibility, that we're able to have options, that we're able to do that 80-20 rule that we talked about earlier. 80% do most of what we know that we're supposed to do, and then make some exceptions here or there, but make them deliberate decisions, deliberate exceptions. Approaching everything with curiosity, trying to think of it as like an experiment. How is my body going to feel if I make these changes, right? And paying attention to how it actually feels. And then celebrating progress instead of dwelling on perfection. Okay, you had a donut. No big deal. Just don't keep eating several donuts every day for the rest of your life. No big deal. That's totally fine, right? And so we know that there are exceptions that, again, we want to make deliberately, maybe like for holidays and stuff like that. But one of my clients just told me this. He said that he was rebelling. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was rebelling in every category, but to a smaller extent than he used to. And I know that sounds silly, but it's really what we're looking for. It's like, okay, if you used to go to your office holiday party and have 10 beers, but you go this time and you have 7, okay, yeah, it's still a lot, but it's less than it was before. Maybe the next year you go and have 4, and then maybe eventually you don't have any, right? And those are the small changes that we're trying to make instead of just going leap of faith cold turkey, because chances are you're probably going to go back. Just keep that in mind. And then the last piece is avoiding that all or nothing dichotomous thinking that we were talking about. Good foods and bad foods. I can't or I can. Having those rigid rules really brings on this rebel mentality. I don't know why we do it. I just know that it's a thing. I have it happen to myself all the time. The more rigid that I am, the less likely I am to actually follow through. So keep that in mind. That's why I don't like words like cheat days, right? I think to make that decision deliberately, totally fine. But to have like a cheat day where you just like go ham on whatever you want to, kind of negates all of the progress that you made the rest of the week or the month or whatever, right? So one day is not going to ruin it for you. You're not looking for perfection. We're just looking for most of the time doing better. Easy peasy, right? And embrace abundance. It's all about adding foods. What can we add in? What can we put into our diet and make sure that we are getting everything out of it that we can? So how do we focus on this? We've learned a lot this week. We just need to go back to the basics. Eat real food in its most natural form possible. Cook when you can. I know not all of you are great cooks. That's totally fine. There's a lot of cheater ways to be able to make things. But if you're able to make it at home, you can really control what's in it a lot more. And you can know what's in it a lot more than if you're going out and getting food all the time. Build your meals with protein as a priority, making sure that we have lots of plants in there, and then trying to get our fats from a better, hopefully plant-based source as much as possible. Start small, stay consistent, and stay curious. It is all about that practical, consistent, and sustainable characteristics. Last closing thought, thank you so much for being here. Nutrition is not about perfection. It is all about direction. We just want to make sure that we're going the right way, that we're making the right changes to help us out, not that we're doing everything 100% all the time, because that's exhausting. We know that in every aspect of our lives. So be forgiving, love yourself, live with abundance, and thank you so much for being here.